Oedipus Rex, directed by Keely Baisden-Knudsen, and starring Mitchell Kawash, my apologies, Mitchell, if I butchered your name, as Oedipus, King of Thebes, Mariah Sage as his wife Jocasta, and Tom Schwanz as his brother-in-law Creon. Though the theater company that goes by the Legacy Theater has been around for a few years, this is their inaugural season at their newly renovated theater at Stony Creek, Connecticut at 128 Thimble Island Road. Their new theater, it's beautiful. It's intimate, it's a great space, and is perfect for smaller productions like this production of Oedipus Rex and their upcoming production of the last 5 years in September. So, commendations to the Legacy Theater, their board of directors, and their patrons for successfully creating their wonderful little space. Go see it. It's gorgeous. As for the production of Oedipus Rex, it's kind of a mixed bag. Let's start with the translation of the text. Originally written by Sophocles, it is translated by Ian Johnston. I don't mind the contemporary and prosaic dialogue, and I definitely don't mind its truncated 90-minute runtime, because Oedipus can be as long as 3 hours, depending on the adaptation you get. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Oedipus Rex is the king of Thebes, originally from Corinth. He left the city to flee his mother and father after a prophecy tells him that he will commit patricide and incest. Since his ascension to the throne, a plague has struck Thebes, and an oracle has told him that the plague will only be lifted once the murder of his predecessor, King Laius, has been avenged by either killing or banishing the murderer of Laius from Thebes, to which Oedipus makes a vow to fulfill, which leads to an investigation of spiritual proportions and horrific results. Now, Greek theater has historically been about philosophy, history, and debate, with drama being the conduit of these issues. Like here in Oedipus Rex, the matter at hand is fate versus free will, what the gods prophesy and the oracles prophesy and demand versus what the characters wish to happen and will try to obtain a defiance of the prophecies that are deemed that will happen. Johnston has removed much of the debate that happens in a lot of Greek. It's very little soliloquy. It's much more story-driven. He also adds some unnecessary redundancies in the narrative, especially since you're cutting all these lengthier stretches of dialogue. You don't really need repetitious moments where the prophecies are recited multiple times. It's like some prophecies are said over at least 3 times when they really don't need to. 1, maybe 2 at most, because the play is short enough that it doesn't really need it. It would help streamline the narrative, and it wouldn't make the characters feel so stupid at times when they're being told a prophecy again and again and again, and they're just kind of like, what? Like, no, the narrative kind of indicates that they get it, and having to reinforce it multiple times is unnecessary. The audience doesn't need it, and neither do the characters. There are also some issues with the casting and directing, especially around Kawash as Oedipus. Firstly, he looks too young to play Oedipus. Oedipus has 4 children, with his 2 sons being in their mid-teens. Kawash looks just old enough to maybe have tweens if he started early, you know? Another issue is the direction of Knudsen and Kawash's acting choices. There's no sense of regality with Kawash's interpretation of Oedipus. Instead, when things start to get difficult for him and the dialogue suggests he should be getting angry and utilizing his royal position, we end up getting more of a petulant child at times. More whiny and less, I'm the king of Thebes. What I say is law. I should be pronouncing my authority here, but instead it just falters and fails here, and it just falters in so many ways. The choices make it difficult to make Oedipus sympathetic as a character, as the world he knows is collapsing around him. Plus, and this is probably the easiest thing that should have been caught, is that in the text, it says that Oedipus has a beard. This Oedipus doesn't. So you rework the line or give him a beard. And the supporting cast is overall good. I really enjoyed Schwann as Creon. He was excellent. He gave a balanced performance. He presented the political nature that Creon is known for without being belligerent or obnoxious. He was very level-headed. Superb job done there. Sage is also great as Jocasta. She shows that Jocasta is on top of everything and very intuitive, far more than Oedipus is when it comes to understanding what the prophecies surrounding them mean. She gives a passionate, pitch-perfect performance as she pleads to him to forsake the prophecies, leave them alone, disregard them, and come back and live the way that they had been. The design is overall good. I like the red ribbons with the prophetic dialogue that is spoken by the chorus or other characters. The chorus members draw them out of their costumes in these long red ribbons with the text written on them, and they insert them into these two altars that are on stage. It's done really well. All the lines that are used are symbolic in nature towards the climax of the piece, and they're lines that we, the audience, need to remember, and it's a great way to trigger that memory as the play progresses. Jamie Burnett's set design is overall good. There is a ramp upstage that kind of zigzags down towards center stage that didn't really need to be that way, but it's a nitpick. Otherwise, it looks wonderful. Also, although the projection designed by Lauren Salato Rosenet was serviceable with the upstage projections, those actually were really nice, particularly when the aforementioned ribbons are pulled out. The text, in case you can't read it on a ribbon, is superimposed on the upstage scrim. It works really well. It helps project the story. What I don't like is this projection of a horse-drawn cart. I was sitting in row B, and this cart starts to appear on my left-hand side, and I'm like, what is this? And I start watching it, and I'm totally not paying attention to the characters anymore. I was expecting some kind of story to be reenacted here. It wasn't. It was extraneous. It didn't need to be there. Legacy's production of Oedipus Rex is not a bad production. There are some questionable choices by Knudsen in the casting, and the translation isn't the best, but it does have good moments, and I recommend seeing it. But I do recommend it with reservations. You're not going to get the best Greek theater with this, but if you are new to the piece, it is an accessible piece. That alone makes it worth seeing. There is one casting variation, which I won't spoil for you, but one of the cast members was unable to be in the show because of an illness, but he was able to record his voice for the role, and it was substituted in what I thought was a really good artistic way, and I commend Knudsen for fixing a most immediate issue. Ticket information is available at their website, which I have linked below. So that is pretty much all I have to say about Legacy Theater's production of Oedipus Rex. So this was one man's opinion. Leave yours in the comment box below, and be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and share it with your friends so they can discover theater going on in Connecticut, Broadway, and elsewhere.